Nonowill is actually kind of busted, and in a way that I actually didn't even think about until I had started using her and testing with her, and then everyone was like, "Oh yeah, you didn't know that?" No, I didn't know that. All right, but we're gonna talk about Nonowill today. I'll find her. Here she is. Nonowill. Let's go and talk about a build, how I plan to use her, and kind of I guess she kind of, like everyone, I guess she has kind of two main directions she's going to go. I think you could use her as like a tower PvE unit or a more of a PvP thing. I don't think her home is going to be as much in PvP overall, but let's go and take a look, and then I'll show you exactly what I wanted to show you that I think makes her so powerful. First, we got her trait here. She possesses jump. This is nice, and she gains 6% bonus attack. She also gains Veil. So basically, Veil gives you a 99% damage decrease. You resist 99% of AoE damage taken once, right? Once every 3 turns. And it goes up to like every turn, I think. So you get a stack of Veil, or you get Veil every turn. So she basically becomes immune to the first AoE attack she receives every turn. The rest of her stuff is like fine, and this is like a good ability. Like it I think it's good, but I don't know if you're gonna notice it that much unless, like, if you're in PvP, she happens to get hit by an AoE, it's just gonna do nothing to her. But if the rest of the team dies, does it matter? This is probably better on like certain bosses that are gonna do big AoE attacks that are gonna be like the weapon trial boss, right? It's like deals an insane amount of AoE damage, but it's decreased for every other character that gets hit by it. It doesn't matter. She'll just tank that solo. No one else has to tank it. And because it's reducing it by 99%, so you're going to live every time. The 15% bonus attack is like kind of whatever. It's good, but it's not like special. So I don't think her trait is insane, but Veil is something you don't want to forget about because it's not usually going to be relevant, but it will come up. So her signature ability is actually, I think, arguably her best ability total. But it kind of depends. So she performs 3 consecutive attacks against all enemies within 2 tiles around herself, dealing 30% damage each. So 3, 6, 9, 90% AoE damage. Is that insane? No, it's not insane. But the fact that it has 3 consecutive separate attacks is relevant, and we'll talk about that in just a second here. So let's actually go and take a look at her kit. So first, she gets Infected Dagger. I love this ability, but I can't see myself ever using it on her. It is good, especially when you talk about it with Anesthetic, which I've talked about before, but we'll get to it in a minute. But basically, this would do 4 stacks of infection. I don't know. I'm not really into it. If Momo had this ability, I bet I would use it more because it would get 5 stacks of infection, and then you're starting to talk. Maneuver is after you attack, you can move again. Basically, I don't think you're going to be using either of these rank ones. Here was my mindset. I don't think I'm going to use either of these. And I was like, all right, in 1,000 battles, will I ever use Infected Dagger? Probably not, because there's so many good abilities I could use here that just do this but better on her. Or am I in 1,000 battles, will I use Maneuver? Maybe. It might be good in Tower, so I might use that. Now, over here, we've actually got some pretty sick stuff. So I think Enchanting Shadow is like the best ability in the game. I think it's the only way to have consistent vulnerable 3 on enemies. This is more of a PvP thing, I think. I can't see myself wanting to use it a ton, but you do get dodge, and then everything around you, well, it doesn't affect, it's not like an aura effect, right? You're going to do, in 2 spaces around you, you're going to give everyone vulnerable 3 that last 2 turns, and you're going to get dodge. So it is a pretty darn good ability. I'm not in love with it, but I do think it is good. Vulnerable 3, 30% increased damage is great. But I tend to try to bring Warhorn a lot, so I don't get as much value out of this as potentially other people do, but it is very good. But the main reason I haven't gotten this yet is across from it is Phantom Dance, one of my favorite abilities in pretty much every context. It's an instant speed with no energy cost. I love it. I love it. She gains move 2. I love it. And then at the end of the turn, if she's within an enemy's threat range, she's going to return to where she started the turn at. So basically, you're in the back line. You get to use this ability at instant speed. You get move 2. You get to run all the way deep into the enemy lines, overextend, and attack a bunch of them. And then when you end your turn, you're going to teleport all the way back into safety. So this is a really fun ability for getting in a bunch of damage and a bunch of infection on a lot of units. So I love this ability. As far as rank 5, reducing the damage taken by 8% is not very good, but every time you receive an attack, you get energy. It is good because her signature ability costs 3 energy to use, and you want to try to use it as many turns in a row as possible. So this is going to be super important. However, if you are just dying a lot, I mean, this is still not even that good. If this was a 30% damage decrease in some way, like from melee attacks, I'd probably take that. But energy recovery is probably better here. So aggression is kind of cool. For all aggression allies in battle, increase attack by 10, defense by 20, and skill damage by 10%. This is actually really good. If you look at aggression characters, right? You got Guzman. You got, it's actually not that very good with Alexi, but it's very good with Beryl. Beryl just getting 10% damage and 10% attack is so good. It's also really good on Guzman because most of his damage comes from his skills because he's not using auto attacks that much. He has a 180% thing. Lash, it's really, really good on. But it's still like, it's a very good aura, and I would absolutely consider taking it. However, it's across from Anesthetic, which is probably my favorite passive in the game. After attacking, inflicts 1 stack of infection. That is awesome. That means, we're not even done reading the ability, but that means her basic attack that hits 3 times, or her normal one hits 2, and this one hits 3 times. This is 3 stacks of infection. Her 1,000 Blades is an AoE, 3 stacks of infection AoE. That doesn't sound insane so far. I mean, it sounds good, but it's like we've already got Luxite bombs. This is a Luxite bomb that's usable every single turn. You have to be in a dangerous spot, I'll admit, but you could potentially use it every turn if you have the energy cost for it. And also, it does more damage against enemies around your level because the 10% is not going to be as much average. But then, when actively using class skill to hit targets, so it doesn't work with your auto attack, which is very important to note. It's not going to work with this. It's not considered a skill. That's a basic attack. So when using a skill to hit targets with 5 or more stacks of infection, inflicts sleep after attacking. This is so darn good. This means if you pair her with she could kind of keep someone permanently stunned if you have the energy to do it. But if she goes up and hits someone, gives them 3 stacks, their turn comes up, they go down to 2 stacks because it goes half rounded up. So it goes from 3 to 2 stacks. Then you use your skill. When they get to 5 stacks, you're going to put them to sleep after hitting them with that. This is so powerful. So if you have a character that has a Luxite bomb that goes before her, like the scout, you could throw it, get 3 stacks on them, and then she could run in, use 1,000 Blades, and do AoE sleep on all of the enemies. And then her turn comes up again. They go a turn cycle. If you have 3 more energy, you could use this ability again. So not only are they going from 5 down to 3 stacks, but you're going to put them up to or if that's 6 stacks, they still go down to 3. You hit them with this again, they're going to go back up to 6 stacks, and they're going to have taken the damage from infection, taken the damage from 1,000 Blades twice, and then they're going to end up on that second turn still being asleep, still with 6 stacks of infection. So absolutely like a cheese strategy, but it is so good. I absolutely love it, and I have a little video of that will show it here. But maybe rank 11 is her best ability, which you think like, duh, Plat, of course it's her best ability. But then you look at Gloria, all of Gloria's abilities are fucking, I think they did her as an early character on purpose because all her good abilities are by like rank 5. But Celestial Song, you gain an aura effect. All allies get regeneration 2. Wow. Immunity to attribute debuff and inflicts immunity to attribute debuff. Wow, this is so good. This is like super fucking mid and average, and it's 4 energy, which is crazy. But then you keep reading. Inflicts no active skills on all enemies within 3 tiles. It means if you're just standing next to enemies, they can't use their active skills. They can only use basic attack. If they don't have a way to become immune to this control effect, like if they don't have immunity to disruption, immunity to control, they can't even dispel this unless they have a character that is like can move away from you and then cast into it, right? So even if they want to dispel it, I don't even think they can dispel it. It's an aura. It's an aura effect. So you have to like, maybe this part's the aura effect. It doesn't say that only the first, it says this whole thing is the aura. So I assume that this does it constantly, right? So you can't even dispel it. Active skills are turned off on enemies within 3 tiles. Absolutely insane. I think this is going to be a PvP powerhouse ability. Especially if you could sing both these songs at the same time. If you gain dodge and do vulnerable 3 on everybody, and now suddenly they also can't use their skills, this is going to be really rough for them to deal with. So I think that this is going to be like primarily what you're going to want to use. If you're going more the PvP route against things like really hard fights and towers and bosses, they're either going to be immune to this or it's just not going to matter because they have such high stats. They're going to just absolutely blow you up. But I do think it is still good. The vulnerable 3 is going to be good pretty much everywhere all the time. However, I'm such a big fan of the strategy of Phantom Dance. I just love this ability from a flavor standpoint. I love that it costs no energy. I love that it's instant. I love that it's the move. I love everything about this ability. But this one's I mean, dodge and vulnerable 3 is fucking great. All right, obviously. So this is how I'm building mine right now. Don't worry, the gear is not as important for me, if I'm being completely honest, because she's mostly for me an infection stacker. So I wouldn't do anything that does like, this is honestly, I think best in slot out of what I have is the newborn blade. It's just a bunch of HP and a bunch of attack, right? Like that's pretty good. Outside of that, like I don't really care about the crit. I don't really care about the Highland bonus. She's not going to have a shield. And this only works on single target attacks, which she's almost always doing AoE attacks. However, if you do get the Burning Blade could be good because you do the triple slash, so you could like basically you could do 3 stacks of infection and scorch on them, so they're just taking an insane amount of damage over time. That could be good. As far as the armor, I mean, yeah, I'm using the crystal armor on her right now, but again, it's purely because it synergizes with the newborn blade. It's not like particularly that powerful. She's mostly going to be a type of character that does infection, right? So I could do something like Prairie Fire, right? Just an additional way to do more piercing damage. I think that's very good. I wonder if this works with, I got to try if this blade thing here works with, I think this works with the infection as well. So you might want to do this. If you could do this and this does infection, I'll test that before the end of this video. We'll take a look at it. As far as here, I always like going for the devil on almost all my tanky characters. The only other one you might want to do if you really, really want to be like aggressive is you grab the the one that gives you movement on standby, right? So because maybe you can do the then you don't need to have like the teleport back ability, but it'll help you kind of stay back and then get in to cause a bunch of people to get their infection stacks. But honestly, devil is just always good. You could use the magician. As far as tarot, I feel like there's not that many questions you're going to have at this point. Like everything is just going to be kind of good. You're going to kind of know if you want more damage, you do like things like devil or magician. If you want more survivability, you can go with things like hermit. She doesn't have anything that attacks off of her turn, so you don't really need things like the tower, you know, so it's a little self-explanatory. If she's dying too much, you know, hermit's really good. I do like the verdict of the world because the AoE attack will trigger the infection, but is like that's not like so insane where I feel like I need to use it. It's not the world, the wheel. I'm sorry, the wheel. It's not so insane where I feel like I absolutely need to use it, but it is still obviously good. Extra stacks of infection because it'll keep them. They'll take the hit, they'll wake up, but they'll be, I actually think it might be a non-bow. You're right, because it says class skill. So I think it will apply the infection, but I don't think it'll put them back to sleep. So that could be a bit of a non-bow there. So we'll worry about that. But I want to show you this right here. All right, so just so we get tested for sure, we have the Prairie Fire, right? It deals damage. Let's see if this does AoE infection. Boom. It does. So that might be exactly what you want to do there. It gives them all a stack of infection before it even starts. And then you can come up here. I mean, you can even do this, right? Boom. Do that. And now you can come all the way up here, right? Hit all 3 of them. So they're going to go up to 4 stacks of infection. And then you're going to teleport all the way back to safety, right? So there we go. So that is something you absolutely could do. But what I really wanted to show you is this. That's right. My failure here. I want to show you my failure. Because we're just trying to do a gimmick, basically. I'm just trying to give you an idea, all right? Oh, I don't need the story, bro. How come I can't skip the story when I'm watching a battle replay? All right, these aren't our characters. We're just using these 3 here. And it's failed because we just, like, instantly end. But all right, so we're going to Luxite Shrapnel. So you can see here, we hit... Stop it. We hit 1, 2, 3, 4. We hit 4 of them. And now we're going to go in... I don't even know. How do we get over there? Okay, we maneuver command, and then 1, 2. So they fall asleep on number 2. So they actually fall asleep when they hit 5 stacks, which is kind of weird. You would think it's like you have to hit them with 5 or more. Because you hit them, they're at 3. Then you hit them at 4. And then when you hit them and knocked them up to 5, it's like the way it must work is they get the infection and then they take the damage because then they go to sleep and then it won't usually matter. But the point is, if your final hit would put them at 5, that will put them to sleep. You don't need to hit them again, but then you hit them a 3rd time here. And they're again, and now you're back up to safety. I wonder if I could have moved you to a better spot. I probably didn't even need to use that skill to move you out of the way. I think I just wanted to demonstrate that. And now we're gonna special mission here to recover her energy. And I just kind of want to. Sorry if I sound sick, man. I feel like I sound like dog shit right now, but that's just that's life. T-Don, come on. I wonder if T-Don's any good. So look, they just have to stand there and take it. The sleep only lasts for a turn, but it doesn't even fucking matter, bro. Because look, they all have to miss their turn, right? Because they're not getting woken up until they wake up themselves. So March Command, 1000 Blade, and now again, you can see here we reapply it, and these characters are going to miss their turn again. Now these characters could, if I didn't like teleport myself out of there, I could have stayed in the middle of them because none of them could have hit me. But I just wanted to demonstrate that. So I think that is where I end. So you can see you could permanently stun lock lots of enemies with anesthetic. So that is the way I want to build her. Like, remember when you might have seen one of my videos where I was talking about Agile Eyes, how I wish Agile Eyes was just like better because she has my favorite ability in the game, basically my favorite passive in the game because she has anesthetic as well. I was like, yeah, but she just can't utilize it. She just doesn't have anything that actually is like good with that ability, even though it sounds good. Because she has it here as well, right? Boom. But she doesn't have anything that hits multiple times. Everything hits one time. And I'm like, this is like, what the hell am I supposed to do here? Nothing. It doesn't do anything. Unless her normal basic attack hit twice, in which case I'd be like, okay, there's a chance here. But it doesn't. Nothing does. So it's like brutal. But Nonowill said, hold my beer. She absolutely wrecks. Now, this is probably not the best part of her build, but I do think this is like a very cheeky way to do it. I think a more realistic build you're probably going to see here is you're probably going to use something like Celestial Song because this turns off active skills. You're probably not going to use Phantom Dance, even though I love it. You're probably going to use something more like the Enchanting Shadow. And then I personally would probably keep Anesthetic on because it will make your normal attacks still hit for 3 stacks of Anesthetic. And then sometimes you'll want to use this. Sometimes you won't want to use... you might not want to use the vulnerable. You might want to just use like this, and this instead of the Phantom Dance. Because really, 1000 Blades is so good with anesthetic. If you're going to take one of them off, then I wouldn't necessarily take them both off. But you're going to need an attack because, again, this won't actually proc unless you're doing an attack skill. And so you could use like Infected Dagger at that point, as an attack skill instead. But you would need something if you wanted the sleep to be in effect. Otherwise, you don't have to, right? You could just do attacks and do 3 stacks of infection on top of doing 115% damage, right? 369, 105% damage. Anyway, this does work, so absolutely use either the Roaring Flint, but I like that on Edda, so I'm probably going to end up using it on this instead. Because this is just, it won't do AoE, but yeah, maybe I will end up using it on Nonowill. The extra, being able to just throw this down and just instantly sleep a bunch of characters is going to be so good. Unless they're immune to sleep, which a lot of characters are, but still absolutely insane. So Nonowill, you have been my bae for the last week here since I pulled you. Absolutely love your kit, your character. You're just badass. Thank you. And I promise to keep using you for a long-term game. I think you're going to be a tower staple. I think you just do enough damage in the tower to be a staple. Because you're so good at applying infection and getting out safely. You can do more infection than anybody, but it is a little risky because you don't have the grenade, but you also don't have the cooldowns that are associated with that. Anyway, much love, guys. Thank you very much for Purplatypus. I'll see you on the flip-flops. Bye! Platypus on the rise, watch the views go.